Hi, I'm Konstantin Baum, Master of Wine, and these days it seems like every celebrity is making wine. I don't know whether any of them actually make wine, as in breaking their bags, harvesting the grapes, stomping them with their feet and checking in on the fermentation, but they put their names on the label and I want to know whether these wines are any good. So let's drink what the rich and famous are drinking, or rather fermenting. Let's go. My intern Leon selected a bunch of interesting wines for me and I will taste and rate them to find out who the king or queen of celebrity winemakers is and who of them should maybe stick to singing and acting. I'm going to rate these wines according to the 100-point system and you can find all the information on that below this video. If you're new to this channel, then please hit subscribe if you want to learn more about wine. And now let's pop corks and start pouring. I'm starting with the 2020 Dreaming Tree Sauvignon Blanc from California. It's a collaboration between Sean McKenzie, a winemaker, and Dave Matthews from the Dave Matthews Band. I think Dave Matthews is not known at all in Europe, but he's super famous in the US. I didn't really know his music, but I checked it out and it's pretty good. So let's see whether the wine is as good as his music. Sauvignon Blanc is one of the most popular grape varieties in the world. It's usually really aromatic and intense. In California it can be a little bit riper, but this has 13.5% of alcohol, so it shouldn't be too opulent. I'm expecting some fruit flavors coming through, quite a lot of fruit flavors coming through, and good freshness. It would be interesting to see where specifically the grapes were sourced from. If you find the generic biggest appellation on the label, like for example California in this case, you don't really know that much about the character of the wine. If you know that it's from Sonoma, you know that there tends to be a little bit more freshness, high quality grapes. And yeah, I don't really know that in this case. I just think it's not really well balanced. I rate this wine 81 points at $13 a bottle. It is actually pretty much okay. I wouldn't complain about it, but it's not exciting. There could be more here. It's just like a good Sauvignon Blanc. I don't really know what this is. I think Leon really threw a curveball here. This is Mix Fusions from Nicki Minaj. Nicki Minaj is a rapper. I didn't really know her music, to be honest, but that's an age thing. I think she's successful all over the world. I listened to some of her songs and they are pretty wild, but I like them. I'm not sure whether I like this. This is labeled Coconut Moscato, coconut juice, and the grape variety Moscato. Moscato can produce really aromatic and intense white wines that can be absolutely delicious. This is actually one of the few cases where the wine is cheaper in the US than in Germany. I paid 24 euros for this tiny bottle. It's 130 euros per liter, which buys you a pretty amazing bottle of wine normally, so I hope this isn't all awful. Just FYI, this is a few dollars in the US, so I was really ripped off. Let's open it. I can already smell it. So this is first of all carbonated and it's clear. I thought I'd see some cloudiness from the coconut juice, but the liquid smells a lot of coconut. I don't really get a lot of Moscato flavor coming through, even though Moscato is such an intense, pungent grape variety. I don't really smell it all that much. There's a little bit of this grapiness that you would get from Moscato. On the palate, it's very sweet and quite acidic, and I think this combo would give me heartburn, but I mean, it's not absolutely terrible. It's just very artificial, very sweet, and I can't picture myself drinking it. Nicki and her team see it differently. They are saying, discover layers of refreshing, mellow coconut mingling with Moscato's nectar illusions. Taste the tingling of fresh, fizzing fruits while swaying to the breeze and celebrating the exotic taste of the tropics. Wow. My opinion is, if you like fruity stuff and don't mind really, really sweet beverages, then this is for you. I would rate it 73 points. Sorry. I need to wash out my mouth before I can get into the next wine. Next up is the 2020 Fantinel Sun Goddess Pinot Grigio Ramato from Friuli, which is made in collaboration with the soul singer Mary J. Blige. To be honest, this is not the wine style I would expect from a musician to get involved with. This is quite niche, quite special, but I'm looking forward to tasting this. Friuli is a small wine growing region in the north of Italy, and the Ramato style is a very special style. It's basically Pinot Gris or Pinot Grigio grapes harvested and then left in contact with the skins, the juice being left in contact with the skins for a bit to kind of extract a little bit of color, and you get a wine that looks a little bit like a rosé, but is actually made from white grapes. I know Mary J. Blige's music very well because I grew up in the 90s. Interestingly, you don't really find a reference to her on the label or anywhere on the bottle apart from the capsule and the cork. Quite low key for whatever reason. I think you can see pretty much straight away that the color is a little bit different than other white wines. Like I said, Pinot Gris has a pink skin, so it can give off a little bit of color if you leave the skin in contact with the juice. On the nose, it's actually quite delicate, but it has beautiful, very precise flavors of pear and ripe apple. On the palate, it's actually really good. It has quite a lot of concentration and richness, but then the acidity comes in and breaks it all up. And it's refreshing, vibrant, it stays on the palate for quite a long time. So it's a fairly serious wine. This retails for $18 a bottle, and I think this is a pretty fair deal. I would rate this 89 points, really nice Ramato Pinot Grigio. And do I care whether Mary J. Blige was involved or not? I don't really, but this is good wine. So I just spilled over Nicki Minaj's drink, and well, it's not a great loss, but it smells like coconut in here now. Let's continue with the 2020 Château de Tigne Rosé d'Anjou from the Loire, which is owned by Gerard Depardieu, and it retails for $10. Gerard Depardieu is one of the most famous French actors. He was in hundreds of movies, Asterix and Obelix or The Life of Pi, amongst many others. He's also really into food and wine, and he once claimed that he can knock back up to 14 bottles of wine per day, which is a bit of an insane claim. I mean, even if you could drink 14 bottles of wine per day, should you really boast about it? I don't think so. Gerard Depardieu bought this winery in 1989, and this wine is mainly based on the grape variety Cros, which can produce quite intense, darkly colored rosé wines. This is off-dry, which is not necessarily my favorite type of rosé, but I'll still give it a try. I gotta say, this label looks a little bit like Gerard made it himself on his computer using Photoshop. It's not the fanciest kind of label, but I shouldn't judge a book by its cover. I really like some of Gerard Depardieu's movies. I don't really like a lot of the things he's done over the last years, and I don't really like this wine. The wine smells of strawberry jam and honey. There's a little bit of spice coming through as well. On the palate, it's really rich and cloying. There's quite a lot of sweetness and it lacks acidity. I don't really know what to do with this type of rosé. I wouldn't drink it on its own on the terrace because I like rosés that are more palate cleansing and fresh, and I don't really think I would be able to match this with the right food either. So this is not good. I would rate this 75 points, so it's better than the coconut Moscato, but you shouldn't really drink this. There's so much better rosé out there, so don't buy this. We're doing another rosé, and it's the 2020 Hampton Water Rosé, a cooperation between Gerard Bertrand, who's a fairly famous winemaker in the south of France, and Jon Bon Jovi. This retails for $20, and it was apparently rated 90 points by Wine Spectator, and it's sealed under one of those glass corks. These things are quite useful for resealing wine. I always keep them, if I have open bottles, I just put one in before I put them in the fridge because they are pretty clean and they look good. This project started when Jon Bon Jovi and his son Jesse decided to make their own rosé after drinking a lot of rosé at their house in the Hamptons. Totally relatable story. They got Gerard Bertrand involved as the winemaker and the person who knows stuff, and I think they were more involved in like designing the label and the bottle, and the label look pretty cool, I think. I mean, the punt here is weird and looks a little bit like a pineapple that is upside down, and the label in and of itself is also pretty cool. The color of the wine is already quite different to the previous rosé. This is a lot lighter, which is quite typical for the south of France, where you get light colored rosés. This is made from Grenache, Cinsault and Mourvèdre, 3 grape varieties that are typical for the south. It smells of blood orange, grapefruit, a little bit of strawberries, and there's also a little bit of oak coming through, but it's really well integrated in the aroma of the wine. On the palate, it's quite grippy, great freshness. There's also a little bit of heat coming through. This has 13.5% of alcohol, so it's not the lowest level of alcohol that you'd ever see in a rosé, but it actually holds together really nicely. I think this is a complex, very interesting rosé, and this is not like the super fresh and vibrant simple rosé. This is far more complex. I think it's really well made, and I think this is a great food wine as well, so you could pair this really well with paella, for example, a rich rice dish with lots of crustaceans and seafood in there, and also maybe a little bit of rabbit. So yeah, this is nice, good stuff. I would also rate this 90 points, really good rosé. 1, 2, 3 into the 4. Snoop Doggy Dogg and Constantine is at the door, ready to make an entrance, so back on up, because you know we're about to pop the cork. Wow, that was bad. Okay, this is the first celebrity wine where I'm a fan of the celebrity. The DOCG is making a wine together with 19 Crimes, which is a massive wine brand, and it's called Cali Red, and I of course need to taste it. Before we get into tasting this wine, I gotta show you this feature that all 19 Crimes wines have. You can download an app and then you get this.
They call me the Dog Father, king of the West Coast, and I was born to defy society.
In my opinion, this app has been the only thing that made the 19 Crime wines stand out, but maybe this one is different. You never know. There's very little information on the wine on the label, but I was told that this is a cuvée of Petit Syrah, Zinfandel and Merlot, which makes sense because those are actually 3 grape varieties that are fairly widely planted in California. Petit Syrah as a grape variety brings in quite a lot of richness, texture, high levels of tannins and high levels of color. Zinfandel is more for the body and roundness, and Merlot also tends to be a little bit more round and structured. I've been thinking about it, and I don't think I've seen Snoop Dogg drink wine ever, apart from drinking champagne. So I don't really know whether this is a great brand personality match, but it seems to sell, and it's a bit risky. I think what really works here is the 19 Crimes story and Snoop Dogg being like a gangster rapper and former criminal. But, well, let's see whether the wine is any good. No, it's not. It smells of really ripe fruit, but like of Ribena or fruit concentrate, really intense berry flavors coming through, quite a lot of chocolate flavor as well. On the palate, it's also really rich and round. The tannins are not very intense, and it's quite sweet. There's residual sugar here. There's also this cocoa and chocolate flavor coming through. I also rate this 75 points. For me, this is very average. It's not really something that I would enjoy, but I can see how this might be interesting for people who haven't really found the right red wine they like. And this might be like a good start, and then you can work your way up from there. We're moving on to another musician's project. This is the 2020 Tenuta il Palagio When We Dance from Chianti, Tuscany in Italy. And this winery is owned by Sting since 1997. Sting was the lead singer of The Police and has made great music over the last few decades. I've been wanting to taste some wine from Sting's winery for a while. I don't really know why, but I was interested. This is a pretty classic Chianti, which which is made in stainless steel, so there's no oak involvement here, and the winery farms their vineyard organically. Chianti as a wine is based on Sangiovese, and the wines can be really beautiful, fresh, vibrant, structured. Some of them can even be age-worthy. This is actually pretty good. It's not super intense in the color, and also on the nose and on the palate it's not really rich. There's more cherry flavor coming through, a little bit of black tea. On the palate, it's juicy, there's good freshness there, good vibrancy. This is not a great Chianti Classico, but it's pretty good. I would rate this 84 points. And this is a wine that would really shine if you serve it at an Italian restaurant together with Italian food. This really completes the meal if you have like this fresh, vibrant, lively, young red wine together with your Italian pasta or meat dishes. The last one is the 2016 Bodega's Iniesta Corazon Loco Seleccion, a winery that is owned by Andres Iniesta, one of the most famous football players of all time. The winery is 120 hectares big and it's in Castilla-La Mancha, a region that is not necessarily known for great quality in Spain, that produces quite a lot of bulk wine. And this is a red cuvée with mainly Syrah, but also Petit Verdot, Tempranillo and Cabernet Sauvignon. This one was aged for 12 months in French and American barriques. I always wonder how the Spanish managed to make cheap wine that was aged in barrique. And this wine is also not very expensive, it's $12 US. The wine has an intense berry flavor, so it's quite aromatic, but it smells really nice. There's like flavors of blackberries, cassis coming through. There's also a little bit of oak flavor, but it's not super pronounced. On the palate, it's actually structured with ripe tannins, good freshness, so it's a pretty complete wine. Yeah, I think this is an 87-point wine. It's pretty solid. Well done, Iniesta. So it's time for the wrap up. This is my lineup of celebrity wines, and I gotta say, money and fame can't buy you great wine, apparently. Not all of these wines were great. Some were really not great at all. I definitely didn't like this. I don't know whether that's actually a wine, but it wasn't good at all. This Rosé by Gerard Depardieu was also not fun. I'm definitely not going to drink this. On the other hand, the Hampton water was really, really good in my opinion. And I also like the two last reds, especially the Iniesta red from Spain, but also the Sun Goddess was pretty nice. So there are some great wines in this category, but I don't think that you should buy wine because you know the person that is involved with this brand. Buy wine that you like, that tastes good, wine that someone you trust recommends, and don't buy wine that is made by someone who's famous. Thank you for watching. If you like this video, then please like it down here. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't done so already. We're growing quickly right now, so keep them coming. Thanks for all of your support. I hope I see you guys again soon. Until then, stay thirsty.